Hello, and welcome to the Women's Rugby Pod, episode 183. And absolutely delighted, our very own Rosarian. Do you know what a rosarian is, Sarah Hunter?
I do now. I didn't. I thought it was a made-up word.
Someone who looks after roses. I thought it was very apt. Famously, once somebody told me that Wade Dooley, for those of you who don't know who Wade Dooley is, look him up, tends to roses as well. But we just thought that was apt for you today. Lovely to have you back on. You've been a very, very busy girl. Thanks so much for your time in this fallow week. How's it all going? Your first Six Nations with a very smart clipboard in hand, I saw at the weekend.
Yeah. No, it's going really well. It's obviously, I think I put out that it's pretty much like a year ago, I obviously stopped playing, and I would never have imagined that I'd have been in this position and been given the opportunity to come back in and be in a coaching capacity. And it's certainly very different on the coaching side from the playing side. But one, certainly getting used to and really enjoying. Just you think about it, you think about the competition in a different way. You look at it in a different way. You're almost like thinking one game ahead. As as a player, you'd be solely focused on the game in hand, but you're almost, as a coach, you're trying to prep and get yourself ready and ahead of the game for the next game coming, as well as like live in the moment for the game you're doing. So yeah, very, very different. Not as much, I say probably as much coffee, but not as many coffee shops or maybe games of Tuk Tuk or, like chilling out on your bed than as a player. But yeah, equally challenging and fun, just in a different way.
Look, we know you are a huge part of the leadership group anyway. And we spoke the back end of last year, and getting your feet under the desk and what have you. Do you feel you sort of made that transition now into full tracksuit?
Yeah, although there's still elements, I'll go and play a game of cards or a game of Tuk Tuk with the girls, just to maybe escape the coaching world just a little bit and switch off from it. Because I guess it's as important for the staff, whether that's in coaching, logistics, what S&C medic, like just to have some time, like as it was for a player, just to clear the mind. So actually when you get to it, you can be fully onto it. So yeah, still have maybe half a foot in sort of catching up with the girls and seeing how they are as well. But I think it's important, I think a big part of, I guess, where this group is, like both players and staff, is like we're quite heavily on bond and how we can make it feel like kind of a family environment. And I guess being able to go and sit and play a game of cards with the players, whether you're a coach or you're a staff member, I think is really important. And you look around and you see that happening a lot, like the connection between the players and staff is pretty strong.
It'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Tuk Tuk, I'm guessing, is a card game. It's not a sort of form of transport which you sort of race around the hotel doing.
Yeah, no, it's actually, I think,
advanced wheelbarrow races.
Yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't be playing that these days. It's a board game. It's a bit like Frustration. If anyone's ever played Frustration, you've got little sort of counters. You've got to get round the board and back to home, and you do use playing cards to move, but you're playing against people who are trying to kill you and get home before you. So it's a mixture of a board game and a card game.
But this is all part of the bonding, as you say. What were the masks about for John Mitchell?
Oh yeah, it was his 60th birthday was when we were out in Italy. So I think it was Jess and Maud who thought it'd be funny because it was the shirt presentation day was his actual birthday. So obviously I think they all thought it would be funny that when he comes up to shirt presentation, everyone would have got there early and be wearing these John Mitchell masks, which went down quite well, I think. And yeah, fair play to them for thinking of that. I think they actually obviously had them printed, but then they had to like hand cut them out and tie the bits of string to them because it was a lot cheaper than getting it ready made. So fair play to the girls for going to that effort. I think there was something, well, there's a lot of staff now and there's a lot of players, so it's probably something like 60 masks they had to hand cut out. So yeah, they did well.
Fair play to them. This maybe an unfair question. Is it almost the fact that John Mitchell being allowed into the Red Roses rather than sort of the Red Roses having to, because it's so established and there's such a great core and there's been such a great atmosphere. It's almost he has to do the work to get in himself, and then almost everybody sort of jumping to his beat. And there's no disrespect either way, of course.
No, and obviously like there was a great environment. Do you know what I mean? Like the Red Roses for years, like historically since began, has been this great team to be part of. And I guess like whoever you are at that time, whether you're a staff or you're a player, you're only a custodian really of the group. And I think for him, he was very much like he wanted to be part of it and wanted to fit in rather than, well, actually it's now his Red Roses. I think he gets the history of it. He gets the culture of the Red Roses, and it probably comes from his background and where he obviously being from New Zealand and then spending a lot of time in South Africa. You know, I think it very much, like I remember on his first day in, like going around introducing himself to everyone, like he knew everyone's name. He makes a huge effort to try and understand the history of the game and the Red Roses, and I think that's really important. And I think it's now this really nice blend of, I guess, where he probably wants to take the rugby element and where he wants to take the group as a whole and how it mixes in what's already there. So it's definitely not one trying to lead the other. It's now how can we grow together.
No, absolutely. And I've also just had the RFU's financial department on. The spending on Haribo and chewing gum during games has got to reduce. Apparently, it's 15% of your budget. Who is responsible for the Haribo? Because the munching that goes on. I was fortunate enough to be 2 or 3 rows behind on at Ashton Gate at the weekend. John Mitchell goes through the chewing gum. The veins go. He's chewing away. The Sunter's hands getting into the Haribo. Who's responsible for getting the Haribos in?
Well, we had a slight dilemma at the Italy game because I think it fell through the net with whose responsibility it was. Is it like our managers? Is it our nutritionists? So, but we did come good. That between our manager and our nutritionist, they managed to get us some sweets. But yeah, it's normally we put in a few requests. Alan, our kit man, as well. Like between the three, they normally dig us out some sweets to have. Lou's quite particular, actually. She's quite demanding when she comes to the type of sweets that she wants. She wants the fizzy Haribo, you know, the Tangfastic. She's very particular on that. And if there's not some sour sweets, then she's a bit put out by it. All in good spirit, though.
Honestly, these are world exclusives.
Yeah.
Lou Meadows likes Tang Fantastics. There are other soured sweets available. Lewis Deacon, what's his go-to?
I think he's just happy with whatever, to be honest.
Just anything. Just a big mitt in there and away we go. Yeah. And the same with yourself?
Yeah, I'm easy, but like actually the elite sweet that I actually had for the exit game before WXV was Percy Pigs, because my mum had bought me some, so I actually brought them to the coach's box to share. That's like elite level coach's box sweets.
That is letters after the name type stuff. That's a different level.
Yeah, but we haven't had them since, so I might have to put in a request to my mum to bring some more Percy Pigs for me.
Well, they've done it. Yeah, well, you know, Mr. Marcus and Mr. Spencer, if you're listening, there you are. Percy Pigs in the Red Roses coaching box. When I started this chat, I didn't think we could get into Percy Pigs and hammer eating, but there you are. That's the way these things go. Great to get a little insight to how it's going personally for you. We're going to look back at the opening couple of rounds, and then obviously have a little look at Scotland for you. That's all coming up. We've got the news with Rori as well, and there's plenty of it from results from around the place. Sevens is back up on the way this weekend as well. First of all, so let's get into opening couple of rounds then for England. Just an overall, there's obviously swapping and changing with the public or not, but we got the idea that John Mitchell wants to see certain players that he hasn't seen. The media attention around those returning, haven't seen since the World Cup, etc., etc. But generally, how happy are we? Sort of marks out of 10 for the opening 2 innings.
Yeah, I think if you'd gone before Six Nations, bear in mind we had 2 weeks prep, and you're trying to if you think back to WXV, we had a whole pre-season. I think it was 8 weeks prep going into WXV. So actually, off the back of 2 weeks prep and having pretty much 2 different teams out for Italy and Wales, and if you'd said before the tournament that we'd win, 48-0 and 46-10, I think you'd take it. So definitely in a place where we're happy with what we're doing. And I think also the thing that we've seen is that the girls are trying to implement what we're asking them to do, which I think is also it's not perfect, and you don't expect it to be when you're trying to potentially implement a few new ways of playing the game. And actually it's going to come with errors, but their intent to want to do that, I think, is great. And actually over time, over the next sort of 18 months as we head towards the World Cup, that will get sharper and that will get better the more time we spend doing that. So I think on reflection, when you look back at the 2 games, we'd say we're in a reasonably happy place with where we want to kick on for the final 3 games.
And is that looking at players, testing players, looking at combinations, seeing players in this environment going to continue? Can you let us know for the rest of the tournament, what's the plan going forward?
So I think obviously it will naturally, as we get towards France and the back end of the tournament, probably start picking more combinations. But yeah, it's an individual's opportunity to put their hand up, isn't it? If you're playing well, whether you've got 100 caps or you've got 10 caps, I guess that's what we want to drive within the squad, is that actually we want players that are in form playing and playing the game that we want to play as well. So I think that's a key message for us and how we want to be selecting our sides.
I mean, every respect to the other nations, but effectively using a sort of a trial tournament, and the biggest sort of annual tournament for women's rugby out there, and such is the strength of the Red Roses squad. It's about as strong as it's ever been. The group of 30-40 players, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that the depth we've now got. I'm not sure. I don't think we're
That's
not.
The word, depth, yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely not using it as a trial tournament. That's for sure. I'm sure other nations we've seen will be trialing different combinations at different time. It's what you probably need to do as there's only 2 more competitions after this before you get to a World Cup. So actually, this is where you need to be seeing what those combinations are like, and seeing how that fits in with the style of play you want to do. And I guess we've seen that within other teams as well. So it's certainly not a trial for us in that sense. But the depth of the squad, I think, is a product of, the PWR and how strong that's becoming. The pathway that's in place with the 18s and the 20s and the centre of excellence stuff. We're having more players come through that and out the other side that are of the standard of a Red Rose. And I think having competition, in some positions we're 3-4 deep, and it's great because it means players are pushing each other. For us as coaches, it gives us some selection headaches, but you'd rather have selection headaches than not have, I guess, that depth of being able to look at different teams and oppositions of their strengths and say, well, actually, what combination of players do we want to put out for this game? How do we want to play this game? Which are what's our best 23 that will implement the game plan we want to do. And I think also within the depth that we have, we've got players that are different to one another as well. So actually, it does allow you that flexibility to pick players dependent on the game plan you want to play as well, rather than just have, several of the same types of player play. And I think that really adds a string to our bow as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask that as you were talking about that, and I'll go to sort of 10, 12, 13, that midfield, if I may. Do you want to have the ability, and I'm asking a yes or no question, but I hope you give me a bit more, that you can play with 2 5/8s, as it were, 2 distributors, 2 footballers, whether that be Holly Aitchison and Zoe Harrison, and change it up if you need to, and be a little bit more direct, a little bit more physical with somebody like Tatiana Hurd in at 12. Do you want to have the ability to do that within an 80 or within a tournament?
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, it will depend on our game strategy going into the game, whether we want to play a bit more of a direct game, or whether we want to play a game that maybe, like you say, has 2 distributors. But like equally, like you look at someone like Tatiana Hurd and like how she's developed her game over the years, from being this direct runner to her distribution skills that she now has, that can fit into playing a wider game as well. So again, that probably goes back to my point earlier about the depth of the players pushing each other. So actually, you have to have a multifaceted game now, rather than just being a one-trick pony. And I think like having the ability to do both, and I think majority of players have that. So it will be very much based on our game strategy of what we want to get after in that game, what the opposition show. And then, like you say, in a tournament as a whole, like you go into a Six Nations and you're not going to play the same team 80 minutes game after game. So it's about making sure players are fresh, making sure we've got the right combinations for the right game. And that's exactly the same in a World Cup, especially now that we've added an extra game in the World Cup and quarterfinal, and the tournament's now 8 weeks long instead of, I think, when we won it in 2014, I think it was something like 3.5 weeks, which is so actually it's really important that we have the ability within our squad to freshen things up and be able to mix it up with how we want to play as well. And having players that can have that ability to do that is really crucial to what we want to do.
Yeah. 3.5 weeks was long enough in Marcosi. You're in your posh hotel, but 3 weeks is enough for Marcosi. Thanks very much. Look, it's hugely exciting, and when it does click, and I think we're kind of all honest that hasn't been for full 80s. There's been patches of some high quality stuff. I think of the Moormuir try at the weekend. That's a lovely team score, and using all your attributes, whether it be the pace of Abby out wide, the absolute power. What were the yes, we did that really well from the Ashton Gate, which congratulations, record crowd outside Twickenham. First, I'm just going to ask you that, having now said it, it's just a given now, isn't it? How cool is that? We don't even talk about it now.
No, it is brilliant. And it's so great for the game. And I guess the players playing now, it's almost like when you go to games where maybe they don't have many people there, that's more of a talking point than having like thousands of people come and watch you. And it's great for people growing up watching the sport. Like you see like young people watching it, that's the norm, when they turn on the TV and they see 20,000 odd people like come to watch a game, and like Twickenham selling really well, like by all accounts, which was brilliant. And as we were walking in, Katie Daly McLean was doing comms, and I saw her, like she was just stood on the entrance, and there was obviously loads of people waiting to like welcome the team as well. And I remember getting off buses and no one being there, so actually to have like crowds of like depths of people just coming to welcome welcome the girls off the bus is huge. And she was like almost like indicating, she was like, wow, look at the crowd. I was like, yeah, I know, it's so cool. And like things like that, like some players won't know any different, but I guess but for the likes of me and Katie, who maybe only experienced a small fraction of it, to see it now as the norm is just brilliant. And the exciting thing is that that's going to get bigger and bigger as the game goes on, and that's a really, really exciting place for the game to be.
Yeah, long gone are the days of pitching up in a muddy, puddly car park at Isha, where the only person in the crowd is someone who's happened to stumble across the game because they're walking their dog. I remember that. Very funny. No, it's brilliant. And look, Scotland, it's very close to a sellout at the Hive for your game against them. Their crowds have been really good. Wales' crowds have been really good. We know all about France, but Italy picking up as well, and reasonable numbers at the RDS as well. Sort of records kind of across the board. It's just fabulous to see. It really is to show what we've done for a very long time. Brilliant rugby. What was brilliant about the Red Roses at Ashton Gate? Let's get back there.
Oh yeah, sorry, sidetrack. I think again, there were elements where it wasn't perfect. And like I say, when you're trying to implement something new, like you're not gonna. I don't think there's ever the perfect 80-minute game, even when a team's had the best game in the world. But like I said, that you could see like what we were going after, and I think some of the carrying through our forwards, or the ability of like take Meg Jones for example. Like, I mean, we've defended on our try line like a couple of times. We've got the ball back, we've given it back to Wales, we've got it back again, and then Meg makes a break, and then we go the length of the field, and it's just that ability to then like be connected to play and to score a try. And I think things like that, like that's, I guess, when England and the Red Rose are at our absolute best, when we're ruthless, we take our opportunities. Like she's seen the space, she's gone, she's backed herself, but the rest of the team have backed her with that. And actually, you know, from one end, when we're under masses of pressure from Wales, to go to the other end and score, you know, I think it's really pleasing. Some of our set piece, you know, both in attack and defence, like, and I'm not just talking about line out, I'm talking about our strikes off it, in terms of what our backs were doing, in terms of putting us on the front foot to then attack from, is really pleasing. So yeah, there's like, I think the combinations of trying to interlink, like you say, that I think there was the try, I can't remember who scored it, but like we played through the middle, Maud's like puts a pass out the back, and you know, we play to the edge and we attack the edge. You know, I think it's just a variety of how we're playing as well. Like, we can be direct, but we can also get it to our backs on the edge and utilize them. And so yeah, there's plenty of things to take away that are really positive. But yes, absolutely, there's a few things that we need to shore up and get better for Scotland and the rest of the tournament. But I think where we're at, you can see the ambition, and Marley talks about it all the time, about playing with a handbrake off. And I guess when you're playing with that and you maybe move into a more free way of playing, it's going to come with errors at the start. Like, but actually, I think from the Italy game to the Wales game, you saw those errors come down, and that's something we'll be driving to push as we go into the next few games of the tournament.
Yeah, one shot, one kill is it seems to be the buzz phrase knocking around from old party packer Mummy Marley. Just to put some noisy stats into it, I know you like your stats. 46-10 the final score, but there was 50% possession. Both had 18 attacking minutes, roughly 46% territory to 54, but England carried 933 meters to 590 meters gained, 633 to 285, 15 line breaks to 3, 29 defenders beaten to 14, 30 yards to 1. That shows you the accuracy that's beginning to come. as you say, some areas 15 penalties, handling errors, put down to sort of people combining and the new game plan. As you said, another couple of lineouts lost and 14 missed tackles I have down here. Zoe Aldcroft marked her 50th with a try. She's world class, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. I think ever since she sort of burst onto the scene when was that 2017, there's been something special around her as a player, and she has had some like pretty big injuries along the way that sort of probably hampered her career at the beginning, but she's an absolute like demon. Like her mindset to come back, and every time she's come back stronger. And obviously she was brilliant out at WXV, and then she picked up that injury in the first game of the season, and then to rehab, like have her up, rehab, and then do 80 minutes on her first game back was just outstanding. She's got such an engine, and like she's got the ability to run through people, but equally she's got the hands and the ability to run around people and connect with it. And she's definitely got the all court game, and like she seems to get better with age. She's like a fine wine, she is, Zoe. And then obviously to see her get her 50th cap in the manner that she did, and just an industrious performance for the team. And yeah, she's certainly a world-class player that we're very lucky to have in our ranks.
Well, let's hear from the lady herself. I caught up there after the game at Ashton Gate. Here's Zoe Aldcroft after her 50th cap.
Yeah, it was super special. I think I've felt the love throughout the week, so it's been nice for that. And obviously the massive crowd that we had outside today, that was unbelievable to mark the occasion.
I've got a bone to pick with you, making Sarah Byrne cry during a shirt presentation.
I know, bless her. She did an unreal speech. She's so sweet. But it was lovely for her to be able to do that. And yeah, it's very nice of her.
2 from 2 now, and healthy scorelines in both. But what's the mark out of 10 in terms of performance?
We're definitely not quite there yet. There's some really good stuff, and we've seen that our game plan is working. And we've got really, really high standards, so we just want to finish off those extra things. I think we did leave a couple of tries out there that we could have probably got over. So yeah, just finishing those off and just becoming absolutely brutal with our performances. What did you make of Wales today? They had some really good times during the match, and they really made us work at the breakdown. I think that was where they got gain from us. But yeah, no, they were definitely improving. And the Bristol crowd, decent old number here as well. Absolutely unbelievable. I think any sort of turnover, you just heard a massive roar. Like Rosie was saying, she could barely hear the line out, and that is what we want. So yeah, really, really good. I'd say our bond is really, really strong. Like the girls know their places in the squad, and the competition is absolutely unbelievable to see, and it's just pushing us each week.
I'm Vicki George, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
Great to hear from Zoe after her 50th. Yeah, there's been some. I'm not going to ask you for individual names. I think that's quite your place to do that. Rosie Gallagher was up there. Holly Aitchison. Distribution was great. Had bottom all over the place. Abby Dow, quality. And yeah, if you just wrap Meg Jones and Cottonwall now through to the World Cup, that'd be fantastic. Sunter, what did you make of Wales? You were in the heart of the battle last year, seeing it from a slight distance now. And quite a lot has been made of the way that teams have come out of the back of their WXV campaigns. Obviously, Scotland winning, getting a trophy. Wales, the other end of the spectrum, struggling in terms of results at WXV1. Give us your thoughts of what they're like and whether that has had an influence, particularly Wales.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because like winning breeds like a mentality, doesn't it? And you look at Wales' last Six Nations, and over the last years they were winning. Like they finished third last year.
Wales, yes.
Yeah, so they finished. So they've got that winning mentality. Everyone was talking about how the professional contracts have made a real difference, and you could see that within their game. And then they win because they come third. They go to WXV1, and it's a pretty tough ask, playing. It's probably, I'd imagine, the toughest competition they've played in. Like when you get, and even for us, when you go to a World Cup, you have your pool games, and there's probably a pool game that is like comparatively not like you're not playing the top 6 sides in the world like game after game, and I think that's pretty tough. And like, how do you regain that momentum, that winning momentum, when you come back into your next competition having not had any in 6 months? And I guess that's the work that they'll have to do. Like you see moments of what they've done probably in the last year, when they were playing in Six Nations last year, and you saw it in the game on Saturday that we played in. For me, like, it's just their consistency and of probably their error count and being able to convert their opportunities when they have them. They had 12 entries into our goal zone and converted 6% of them. And actually, that just, like I think I said it before, we defended for maybe 3-4 minutes in our red zone, and Wales didn't convert, and then we go the length of the field and score the other end. And they're probably pretty crucial moments in games where Wales might not be winning now. You look back at the Scotland game, and they certainly had moments to win or to stop Scotland getting ahead, and they came back strongly, and that they're not far off. They're not far from where they were this time last year. But is it based on having that momentum or not having that momentum that they didn't pick up from WXV? So you look at Scotland in comparison, and actually in the Six Nations last year, they were losing those moments because they maybe didn't have confidence. They didn't have that sort of like in them to remember and recall on, that memory call on, like, oh, in these moments, this is how we convert pressure into points, or this is how we stop people conceding. Whereas you saw them, they've been to WXV2, they've won all the games, they've won the competition, they've come off the back of it, they've had a good preparation going into this tournament. And actually you've seen how they performed against Wales in those crucial moments, and then actually how they went into France. And I guess only Wales will be able to know like how much of an impact that WXV1 tournament has had on their game. But they'll have to take the positives. We didn't score in the last 18 minutes of the game. So there are things I think they're not far away from. It's just like fine tuning those moments, that when they get opportunities to take them, and how they can prevent some tries that I guess can be stopped from happening, which is what I'd probably be looking at. But yeah, they're not far off. They've got some great players in their team. You look at that team, and the majority, maybe barring Alex Callender, have played in the PWR week in, week out this year, and she's played in it. Obviously the demise of Worcester, unfortunately, she's had to go and play in the Celtic Cup. So yeah, it's probably a tricky, difficult patch for Wales, but they've been in similar patches before, and they've come out stronger from it. So I've got no doubt, like with the mindset that they have going into the rest of the tournament, they should build and kick on with some of the games they're going to have.
Yeah, when you coming into the game and Jazz Joyce not fit, and leg pull out, and Kelsey Jones, two big players for them. New captain hooker, the young scrum half, Sean Jones, isn't it? That was her first Six Nations start.
I thought she went really well though. Like for a young hooker, a young scrum half, especially off the back of what happened the week before, I thought she actually went well, considering everything into place when actually it could have gone completely other way. I think that shows a really good strength of character to be able to do that.
I couldn't. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, she kicked the ball out to touch last week, didn't she? The week before, when Wales had a chance to sort of hang on to the ball and potentially score and win the game against Scotland. But yeah, bounce back a bit. She was great. The reference I made to her was that Vicki George is a confidence player. Yeah, she came on the pod a couple of months ago, and it's the first podcast she's ever done. She's that kind of keeps her sort of self to herself, and this is my assessment from afar. But she's not a Katie Day McLean who's out there, and you have to have a constant bleeper because the pattern of the words coming out at a rate of knots. She's not that kind of fly half, and which is Gloucester Hartbury. You've got Mo Hunt inside her, take a lot of pressure off. Emma Singh can come in and whack the ball as well. I just wonder whether they just need to just get a little bit more support around her, because it seems like everything, especially with Jones that's come half, that everything's sort of rested on her shoulders. And this Dunbar Tensha is hers for the first time really at the moment.
Yeah, and like Kira Bevan, when she came on, she made a massive difference. And I guess it's like coach's prerogative on why they've made the selection that they've had done, and I guess no one will know apart from the players and the staff. But then you probably look to someone like a Hannah Jones, who's your captain out in the midfield, to give that support around. Like was it Karen Lake playing 12 as well? Like she's an experienced international player. Like these are the players, like you say, that need to be getting around. And because George is still a young player herself, and relatively with international experience. So again, it's how they collectively support each other to actually do what we know they can do on the pitch. So if you look at, again, George, she's been brilliant for Gloucester, haven't you? But like you say, she's had Mo Hunt around her. You look at sort of her first real competitions into that 10 jersey. It started at WXV, didn't it? So before Snowsill had retired, Snowy had gone. So then it's how do you keep that, or maybe rebuild that confidence going into this tournament? But yeah, they're top quality players, and I'm sure they'll find a way to make sure that come the rest of the tournament, they'll show that.
So Wales not far away. Let's get into the Scotland-France game and the Italy-Ireland game after we've caught you up with all of the rest of the news from around the world. Here's Rory.
Thank you guys, great to be back. I'm loving the Six Nations. My favourite player at the weekend was Ellie Kildunn, for her speed and skill to score the last try against Wales. Here's the rest of the news from around the oval world. Just to remind you of the round 2 results in the Women's Six Nations. France beat Scotland 15-5 at the Hive Stadium in Edinburgh. England and Wales played out a 46-10 win for the Red Roses at packed Ashton Gate. And at the RDS in Dublin, Italy came through 27-21 against Ireland. A week's break now before Scotland are back at the Hive Stadium to face England at 2:15 on Saturday the 13th of April. Then at 4:45, Wales travel to Ireland at the Virgin Media Park. On Sunday, the Stade Chambord is a venue for France versus Italy. Round 3 of the Super Rugby W in Australia over the weekend. The Waratahs women beat the Rebels 38-17. Fijiana Drua won 19-5 against the Western Force, and the Reds lost 14-31 against the Brumbies. Waratahs remain unbeaten with a maximum 15 points, and then we have 3 teams on 9 points: Fijiana Drua, Western Force and the Brumbies. It's the last but one round of the regular season this week, which sees the Rebels host the Queensland Reds on the Friday. And on Saturday, the Brumbies are up against Fijiana Drua and the Waratahs travel to the Western Force. In New Zealand, the Super Rugby Aupiki is coming to our heads. We know that Chiefs Manawa and the Blues women will battle it out to be champions in 2 weeks' time after the round 5 results at the weekend. Matatu beat Hurricanes Poa 37-17, while the Chiefs Manawa lost their first game of the season on home soil 26-40 to the Blues women. This Saturday, the last round of the regular season at 2:05, Hurricanes Poa face up against Blues women at the Leven Domain, and at 4:05, Matatu hosts the Chiefs Manawa at Christchurch. The Six Nations wasn't the only international rugby going on at the weekend. On Saturday, the USA took on South Africa at the Ealing Trailfinders ground, and it was the USA who came out on top, 38-17. The Rugby Europe Championship also continues. On Saturday, Spain beat Portugal 24-0. This week, Spain are off to Amsterdam to face the Netherlands. Well, that's all for me for another week. Rori Taylorson signing off.
Rori, brilliant to have your energy on the pod. Thank you very much. Up to date with all the news. And yes, some rugby going on down in Australia. You want to catch their socials, Super Rugby W. Some outstanding tries being scored there, and Aupiki as well. We looked at Wales before we heard from Rori, and possibly the sort of influence of the WXV and coming out of that without a victory. On the other end of the scale, Scotland, longest winning run ever, ended at the weekend 5-15, but only due to an RB try from France 52 minutes in. She's been dropped back down to the 20 squad, actually, and France have made a few changes in their back line for the next 3 rounds of the Six Nations, and Grove scored on the 8th minute as well. Scotland are riding high. They were disappointed, looked incredibly disappointed, and quite rightly so. That's a winnable game, considering last year they got pumped 55-0.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting the way games happen. So we're prepping, obviously, for our game. We've got a bit of time after lunch before we go into our team meeting, and Bus and everyone sort of watching it on their phones or in their rooms before they go. And I think everyone not surprised at all, because obviously we've seen like how Scotland have have improved, but they've played to their potential. Like each year you look at the quality of the players and they probably just haven't clicked. But I guess since you saw elements of it in Six Nations last year. They lost fine margins against Wales, and then obviously they had that great win over Italy, and you're like, actually this is the Scotland with the players they have, we know they can get results. And then did they use that confidence to bounce into WXV2 and then winning those 3 games? Like things start to click, you start to get this confidence, you get that momentum, and then they've definitely hit the ground running coming into the Six Nations. To get the result down in Wales, and they hadn't won down there in a ridiculously long time, had they? So I think to get that monkey off their back. Get that monkey off their back was really important. And then Scotland at home are a difficult proposition, and you never know how France are going to travel. And I think as the game started, you saw a real sense of like what could come, and you see the score at half time and it was like, Scotland were in it like all the way through, and they'll rue a few missed opportunities as well, and it's almost bittersweet, I think, and it shows you where Scotland are now at, the fact that they're disappointed with that result, and that's great. But then, like you said, what was 55-0 last year, and I was out there doing some comms, and I was just like, it just didn't look like Scotland were even at the races really, and it could have probably been quite a bit more with that result. So actually the progress they've made, like, you're probably really pleased with that. but at the same time, like, because of that progress, like that result could have been different. And I also think for them not to get anything out of it, was and it's the cruel world of sport, isn't it? Like, they come away with nothing when actually they really deserved something out of that game with the way they did play.
Yeah, Helen Nelson, having been 100% for the team the week before, missed the penalty and a conversion, that would have put up to 10 points within 5, would have got a losing bonus point. But look, we don't blame kickers, but the points are out there, and I think you're right. It was there inaccuracies that probably lost them the game. But I just remember seeing Rachel Malcolm, the doc at the launch. And it was just and I've known her for a long time. It was just a different air to her, and you're thinking, because the frustration has got to be like, oh my, on paper, and we know what you can do week in, week out, club size and whatever you do, this, that, and the other. The frustration, they couldn't actually say you play to their potential, and yet now that seems to be the case, and possibly that double XV and the confidence. Just one last question on Scotland before we kind of move on. What does that confidence do for you, Sunter? Like physically? Well, perhaps I'll just try that, or I will give that flick on, or I will get off the ground a little bit quicker. How does it manifest itself physically within a team?
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. I think when you're in that, it feels like you've grown about 2 inches taller, and you're almost like shoulders back, chest out. Like you say, you almost things like when you probably carry an extra meter, 2 meters, because it's really weird, like the psychology of it. Or like you look at their defense, like they've barely missed any tackles, or you look at, they might make that extra pass. That you look at Corinne Grant's try, like things just seem to come out. When she goes down the edge against Wales, and those are the things when you've got the upper hand, and when you've got that confidence, momentum, they're the things that come off. Do you know what I mean? Those are the sorts of things that tend to go your way. And it's really strange that actually sometimes when you're in a difficult patch, those are things that actually maybe a foot goes into touch, or she gets tackled, or actually they don't retain the ball, or things like that, where actually it just seems you get to a breakdown quicker, or the speed of pass is better, and those are the things that I guess confidence brings with how you play, and it's infectious as well. So when a few people have it, it's how it breathes through the team, and you can sort of see that from how the Scotland girls are playing and how they're feeling about it. And it's not going to be the easiest of tasks for us to go up there next week, to Edinburgh, sold out Hive Stadium. They're full of confidence. We're definitely not underestimating that proposition of the challenge that it will be for us when we go up there to play them, especially given what Scotland have done over the last sort of couple of games in Six Nations, but also WXV as well.
Yeah, Corinne Grant was on the pod last week. She said, "Yeah, I just thought I'd give it a go," and that in that one sentence kind of sums it up, doesn't it? I've got the confidence as a player with a handful of gaps. Just to say, I'll give it a go. And 12 months ago, she probably doesn't do that. It's a game of inches. Wherever those inches are, it's the game of inches. France, still the main contenders to stop you being crowned Grand Slam champions again, Sunter?
Do you know what? This is going to be, you're going to be like, it's typical, but that's our last game, and we've seen teams slip up along the way. Yes, they're probably the strongest side in the tournament, but the way teams are, no one would have predicted the scoreline Scotland had against France last week. So genuinely, we can't think above that. We don't want to go there and lose. So on paper, on past results, on history of the tournament, you say yes, but actually, like, we genuinely, we haven't even spoken about that game. Like, we're literally like Scotland and how Scotland were like have been playing and like showing them all the due respect that they deserve. That's like, sport creates so many upsets, and you don't want to be on the receiving end of one. So yeah, history suggests that, but actually the present tournament at this moment in time could suggest other things.
For me, and Italy might be kind of halfway between, but Scotland are playing with that extra confidence you've spoken about. Wales are trying to move their game on. You can quite clearly see, and we'll come to it in a second, Ireland and the things changing there. England are changing. I think it's to be crude about it, kind of same old, same old. Yeah, when they get that power going, and Fall is at the heart of that. Ménager and Herme and Escudo and Grow and these kind of players, and then that pace out wide and Vernier sort of pulling the strings in the midfield, and this young fly half. It's more of the same for France, and they are always tight games, or you go 30 odd points ahead and then let them score 30 points back, and it's a grand town finish at the Sun at Twickenham. So it will be a marvellous event. Bordeaux, is it not?
Yeah, it's Bordeaux. So yeah, in the heart of rugby land for them. So no doubt it'll be the usual hostile crowd that we come to expect and love in France.
Lovely. Well, do get out for dinner the night before that one, won't you? Ireland, your old chum, or I was being presumptuous there. Your old coach, Scott Beamond. He's got the nettle here, isn't he? And you can quite clearly see 21-27 they went down to Italy. It was 7:15 at half time. And they had the opportunity right at the death to win it. And Italy, they just didn't protect the ball, and Italy turned it over. Quite clearly, defence with Declan Danaher coming on board has been a real focus for them, and their trajectory is very much on the up, Ireland. Would that be fair to say from what you've seen of them so far in the opening 2 rounds?
Yeah, I think, again, you look at the quality of player they've had over the last few years, and you hear the things that, I don't know, have gone on and stuff and I guess you'll never know, but you almost feel like it wasn't a settled camp, it wasn't a happy camp. And that showed in the way they were playing, because you'd watch their games and you just think, actually, the quality of these players, they should be performing better than they have been. Whereas, obviously, Scott's come in with Declan and given them like probably a new energy. That I'd imagine, knowing Scott, he'll have got them together collectively. He'll give them a real clear sense of what he wants to go after, and he'll try and create this togetherness that, like, I don't know whether they had it quite clear. It didn't seem to see that on the pitch. But again, they've gone to a tournament where, like, they weren't tested, but actually, was it a tournament that they needed just to get back some confidence in this winning mentality of what they did? And yes, they had that tough last game in WXV3, which again probably just gives them that sort of like build into the Six Nations. And whilst they haven't won either of their games, how they're performing compared to how they played in the Six Nations last year, there's a real sign of change, of positive change as well, in terms of how they want to play. It seems like the girls seem more connected, more confident, and Scott will give them a real clear game plan. He was involved in, obviously, our setup for years. He understands what performance rugby is, how to manufacture the week, what the intensity of training needs to be for a team to perform at the highest level of international rugby, and that experience will be invaluable for the Irish team. And yes, you can see they're moving in the right direction. I guess it's just how quickly before next year, and hopefully they do qualify for next year, that they move at. But yeah, definitely positive signs of where they have been to where they are now.
When I spoke to him at the Six Nations launch, and he said, yeah, they'd done quite a lot about why they were doing it and what it meant to be in the Irish shirt. And this didn't come from him, just a sense of, again, from knowing him for many years, that it was almost, well, they've never done that before. And well, how can you pay for the badge of the shirt if you kind of don't know the reasons behind it and all the rest of it? So I think, yeah, there's been a lot of that sort of, again, that culture piece and tying the group together. And then when you put Sam Monaghan back in the mix last weekend, who'd been out for a while, she was just top jaw. But they're not far away. 69% territory, 56%. They gained more meters than Italy, beat 36 defenders to 16 Italy, more line breaks, but then there was 8 handling errors and 17 turnovers. So, yeah, there are parts of the game that are there, but yeah, as you say, the trajectory very, very good. And they were gifted those couple of tries, weren't they? With the intercept and the penalty try as well. Italy, I'm a bit underwhelmed by Italy. Just playing almost like they're in porridge. Only 38% of their rucks under 3 seconds. When Ireland are managing 77%. What's your percentage of 3% rucks you want to hit, Sunter of the Red Roses?
Yeah, we certainly want to. I know what we want to slow the opposition down to, but attacking wise, yeah, it's certainly a high figure. I'm not going to divulge our KPIs away to you, Johnny, unfortunately. But yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. But 38%.
You want high ruck speed ball, that's for sure. But I did when we played Italy, and I do wonder this. And like I said, I haven't seen the Italy Ireland game in any in depth yet because I went for lunch with my mum and dad on Easter Sunday, so that was quite nice.
So you should have done, yeah.
So I haven't got to it yet fully. But when we played Italy, they kicked more than I've seen them kick before. And I don't know if that's the same thing, but ultimately that will slow your ruck ball. So if you're going to go to a boost down, you're looking at 5 seconds. And they did like a box kick. They do that like multiple times. So I don't know if that was the same in the Ireland game, but naturally that will slow your ruck ball down as well.
I'm Sarah Hiddenate, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
We'll just finish up, if we may, Sarah Hunter, with a couple of little shout-outs to various people. We quite clearly wish Helena Rowland all the very best. Fractured a finger out for the rest of the Six Nations. Sillery, we touched on last week. Really, really sad that she's out for the duration. Big up to Zoe Howson on 50th. Hong Kong Sevens. You were giving some live updates earlier on, Sarah Hunter. Yeah, go well. The GB team and everybody else out in Hong Kong last time at the famous old stadium, their ultimate game in the HSB 7 series, then over to Spain. And Berner, our very Sarah Byrne, back introduced into training. Absolutely delighted to hear that news this week. First, I wanted to just get your opinion on is Vicki Cornborough, player you will have known from virtually every angle, having played with her for many a year. Suspect the answer is going to be along the line, fabulous player, even better person.
Yeah, like she is. That would sum it up. No, but genuinely, she's just been the ultimate professional. Like ever since I've known her, she has done everything she can to be like the best rugby player she can be, whether that's like spending extra hours like on scrum stuff, or if it's like in the gym doing what she needs to do, or her top-ups or her rehab, or recovery, making sure she's fully ready to go for the game. like just the ultimate. And she was, she just owned that loose head spot for years and years and years. And I guess like she had Rocky Clark to guess mentor her through. And you think, well, when Rocky Clark went, who was going to step into that? And with Vicki Cornborough, we found that replacement, and we seem to be very lucky with the loose heads we have in this country. And yeah, she's brilliant. Like, she did things that like old-fashioned props couldn't do. You know, she was like a brilliant carrier. She had soft hands. She could do it all, really. And when you needed to get out a hole in a scrum, she came good on that as well. And like, she's just a brilliant teammate as well. Like, she didn't take herself too seriously. She was quite fun with like doing like off pitch stuff and things that she'd do with her family. And I don't know, they had these like weird or fun sort of competition events with the like I think whether it was karaoke or like she'd come in and she'd be like, oh, I won. They had like an annual cup trophy that they won, and they like pair up in their couples and perform acts and stuff. And I remember that she'd come in and she'd be like, oh, I won, I don't know, the Cornborough annual Christmas event or whatever it was. And I was like, it's just brilliant. Like, the things that you don't necessarily see the side of Cornborough, because everyone sees her as this ultimate professional rugby player. And she was just a brilliant person to have in camp. And the thing that I don't know whether people quite realise is actually two other things. One, what she's done for the women's game. Like, her role is the Rugby Players Association rep for us, and how she's driven professionalism within the game, like the contract stuff she's fought for, just like equality within the women's game, whether that's in international level or in like domestic level. Like, she's been a voice, and you know, young girls that start playing now can look to Vicki Cornborough and say, like, the path that they're given is like partly due to what she's done and what she's fought for, along with a number of other people. But she's certainly been a voice for the last 5 or 6 years that's fought strongly for the game. And I think it just shows you where the game's changed, that she was vice chair of the RPA Association, well, Players Board Association, which I think is massive. The first female to have done that. So I think like the game owes Cornborough a lot from the sense of where she's taken that through. And then the final thing is like just what a family person she is. Like, I guess, I don't know if people know, but her sister's gone through some tricky times with the cancer treatment she's gone through, and Cornborough's been there to help her and support her with that. And recently is braved the shave, and she, knowing that her sister was going to have to go through chemo, she's gone short with her hair, and she looked absolutely amazing at the same time of it. But those are the things that she thinks of other people before she thinks of herself. And for me, she's like the epitome of a red rose, and I feel really lucky to have played alongside her and been part of her journey, and genuinely wish her well with whatever she goes on to next with her 2 wonderful twin girls and Will and all her family. And she's successful. She was a successful businesswoman before she played rugby or went professional, and I'm sure she'll absolutely smash whatever she does next. And yeah, she's been an absolute stalwart of the game over the last few years.
Wow, there you are. Beautifully put. The only thing I'm going to add, just because I went slightly out of my way to get it, was just spoke to Matt Ferguson, your old forwards coach, who said, yeah, she's absolutely right up there. Really unfussy, never spoke. A bit Sophie Hemming in that way, just quietly and efficiently just get on with her job, and pulled out an 8 out of 10 game after game after game after game. And her work with Amy Cockayne at the scrum was a reason they could fast track people like Sarah Byrne. So the ability to bring on others around her, Vicki Cornborough, and as you say, the brave the shave. Go to Vicki's social pages to to help there if you can. And just to remind you, as you have done all the time, is the Street Family. The silent auction is now closed. You're doing a bit of coaching. It's one of the prizes.
Yeah, I'm doing
a bit of coaching,
yeah.
Sunter.
Yeah.
Oh, that is. I mean, how can you pay for that? It's priceless. But the GoFundMe page is still going ahead. There's lots of other events. So it's www.thefigure2.emma-live.com/streets ahead /home_ page. www.emma-live.com/streets ahead /home_ page. Still up there and running. And we really would like to hit the 100k mark on that one. So still plenty of money to give. And Gary's been out pictured having a pint at the local pub. So he is progressing. The grip is getting there. But still a long journey ahead for him and Flip and the boys. So yeah, please continue to do what you can. So you've got a weekend, like a full weekend off. Tell me you've hired a hot tub and you've got a strawberry daiquiri maker, and that's all you're doing all weekend. Please tell me.
I'm doing absolutely nothing. Although I might do some painting. I've got my downstairs toilet to paint. That might get done. It also equally might not.
No. Get him to do it. Because of course you renovations at Rose Cottage.
Yeah. Slow.
Is that all be going on? Let's not get into that. Please leave the paintbrush alone. Feet up, remote controller in hand, and go and relax. You thoroughly enjoy it. And thank you so much for your time in this fellow week. It's been lovely to catch up with you. Perhaps we'll catch up with you post Six Nations.